One day, they ruled half the known world. The next, they vanished. No survivors. No chroniclers. No farewell note carved into stone saying, "Hey, gone fishing forever." Just silence. An empire erased, like someone hit delete on history itself. Meet the Hittites, the Bronze Age superpower that went toe-to-toe with pharaohs, dictated peace to Egypt, and forged iron before anyone else knew what to do with it. And then, poof, gone. This is the Curious Tome, and today, we're cracking open one of the strangest cold cases in ancient history. The empire that vanished overnight. To understand the mystery, we've got to meet the suspects, the stars, of our story, the Hittites. Around 1600 BCE, in what's now central Turkey, a cluster of mountain tribes decided they'd had enough of being background characters in everyone else's history. So, they pulled off the Bronze Age equivalent of a startup miracle. Picture this: rugged highlands, not a lot of farmland, but plenty of ambition. They forged alliances, crushed rivals, and carved out a kingdom in stone, a kingdom that would one day rival Babylon, Egypt, and Mycenae. Their capital, Hattusa, was a marvel, a fortress city built atop cliffs, surrounded by 5 kilometers of colossal walls. You entered through gates guarded by lions, sphinxes, and actual carved storm gods staring you down like, "You sure you want to come in?" These people didn't do subtle. And yet, for all their toughness, the Hittites were surprisingly bureaucratic. Imagine the energy of Viking warriors mixed with the paperwork obsession of 21st century civil servants. They invented diplomacy, literally. The first known international peace treaty, between the Hittite king Hattusili III and Egypt's Ramses II, was their doing. And yes, you can see a copy hanging at the United Nations today, because the Bronze Age apparently invented both war and international PR. And get this, the Hittites had a soft spot for legal codes. They loved them so much they made hundreds of laws, covering everything from property rights to how many sheep you owed your neighbor if your ox got too frisky and broke his fence. They even pioneered iron smelting, centuries before anyone else. Iron was the nuclear tech of its day, and the Hittites had it first. If you'd seen Hattusa in its prime, golden temples, colossal gates, chariots rolling through the dust, you'd think, these guys aren't going anywhere. And yet, they did. Sometime around 1200 BCE, the world changed. Across the Mediterranean, empires fell like dominoes. The great cities of the Bronze Age, Mycenae, Troy, Ugarit, all burned within decades. And in the heart of Anatolia, Hattusa went silent. No epic last stand recorded. No final emperor to blame. No poetic farewell carved into a tablet. Just ruins. It's as if someone flipped a switch and turned off an entire civilization. So, what happened? Theory 1. Famine. Climate data and grain records show droughts were hammering the region. Crops failed, trade routes broke, and even mighty kings found themselves out of bread and out of luck. Letters from the time show Hittite rulers begging neighboring lands for grain. "Send grain quickly," one desperate tablet pleads, "or we will die of hunger." That's not royal language. That's panic. But famine alone doesn't erase an empire. Theory 2. The Sea Peoples. The ancient world's version of an unstoppable biker gang, marauding, mysterious, and everywhere at once. They torched cities across the eastern Mediterranean, leaving nothing but blackened stone and question marks. Egypt barely survived their attacks. The Hittites may not have been so lucky. Imagine fleets of ships cutting through the Aegean, smoke rising on every horizon, while inland fortresses wait for help that never comes. Still, there's a problem. The Sea Peoples were destructive, sure. But Hattusa wasn't a coastal city. How do seaborne raiders destroy a mountain empire? That leads us to the third theory: civil war. The Hittite Empire was built on complex family politics. Kings, queens, princes, half-brothers, and ambitious generals all eyeing the same throne. When kings died without heirs, the knives came out. You can almost hear it. Long live the king. Wait, which one? The tablets reveal chaos, coups, assassinations, and royal letters dripping with passive-aggressive fury. In one, a queen writes to a foreign ruler complaining her husband's relatives are trying to make her disappear. "Ma'am, that's not a family dinner, that's Game of Thrones, Bronze Age edition." By 1200 BCE, everything, drought, invaders, betrayal, hit at once. The economy collapsed, the trade routes died, the palaces burned. And the Hittite Empire, one of the most powerful on earth, simply stopped existing. For over 3,000 years, nobody even knew the Hittites had existed. Their name vanished from maps, their cities turned to pasture, their language forgotten. When the Bible briefly mentioned a mysterious people called the Hittites, scholars thought they were a tiny local tribe, not an empire. Then, in the 1800s, everything changed. A German explorer named Charles Texier wandered through central Turkey and stumbled upon strange ruins, giant gates, lion statues, and walls stretching across the hills. He had no idea what he was looking at. He just knew it was big. Decades later, archaeologists found clay tablets covered in wedge-shaped writing, cuneiform, but not in any language they recognized. For years, the mystery language mocked them. Then, in 1915, a Czech scholar named Bedřich Hrozný, bless him for that name, looked at the tablets and thought, "Wait, this looks kind of like German." And somehow, he was right. He realized the language was Indo-European, a cousin to Latin, Greek, Sanskrit, even English. One line read, "The king eats bread and drinks wine." Simple, but revolutionary. The oldest known Indo-European language, older than Greek, older than Sanskrit, was Hittite. Suddenly, the forgotten empire had a voice again. When excavations finally uncovered Hattusa, the scale was staggering. Vast temples, underground tunnels, libraries filled with thousands of tablets, all frozen in time. Some temples still held ritual objects mid-use. Gates had been sealed, as if to lock something out, or in. Letters ended mid-sentence. It was like everyone had just gotten up and walked away. Even today, archaeologists can't tell whether they fled, died, or were absorbed by other peoples. But the ghosts of their empire whisper through the ruins, through colossal lion gates, carved kings, and stone eagles staring forever into the Anatolian sky. The story of the Hittites isn't just about their disappearance, it's about how fragile memory is. They weren't erased because they were weak. They were erased because time is merciless. Empires are built on more than armies and iron, they're built on stories. When those stories stop being told, even a superpower can vanish. The Hittites were the masters of diplomacy, inventors of treaties, engineers of massive cities. And yet, a few bad harvests, a few wars, a few scribes who never made backup copies, and they were gone. But here's the twist. Their rediscovery reshaped everything we thought we knew about human history. Because when linguists traced Hittite roots, they realized it linked Europe, India, and the Near East into a single prehistoric language family. The Hittites didn't just vanish, they connected us all. And maybe, that's the irony. They were forgotten for 3,000 years, only to turn out to be part of everyone's story. The stones of Hattusa still stand. The lions still guard the gates. And the wind that rushes through them whispers the same ancient name. Hatti, the empire that ruled the world, and then disappeared into legend. They say no empire truly dies, so long as someone remembers its name. And now, you do. This is the Curious Tome, and this has been the story of the empire that vanished overnight. Subscribe for more buried stories.